Hi Micheal, nice to see you here.
Nice to be here.
Could you give us a little introduction of what you do?
Sure. My name is Micheal Jacobs. I head up enterprise sales as well as part of the digital and payment strategy within INTELLECT iGTB.
We are here to talk about contextual banking. Could you give us a little bit of an explanation of what it is?
Sure. So traditionally banking has always been from a focus out of the transaction, transactional banking, servicing the transactions. Where we're heading, it's important that we not only understand what is about a transaction, but we understand why are they doing the transactions. And if we understand not just the what, but also the why.
To buy my coffee or something.
Or why are they shipping specific money over to that country? Why are you trying to ship this amount of goods? So by understanding the why and the what, it allows us to optimize and maximize the execution.
Doesn't violate privacy?
No, because it's not personal data. It's business process related data.
Oh, I see.
So it allows us to understand, is it of value? Is it of speed? Is it of business importance? And by understanding that context, hence the name contextual banking, we can make transaction banking not just transactional driven, but make it business driven. By understanding the importance and the rationale of why are you doing this from a business, we can make sure that we execute and optimize the execution of that in the right speed and the right time and at the right place. And all of that falls under the umbrella contextual banking.
Wow. So how does iGTB work with it?
So we started on this journey 4 years ago, right? So 4 years ago, we really say, when you look in the market, we have this harmonization in the market going around ISO 20022. We have more and more data available. Within ISO 20022, we now have what's called metadata. That means we have more insight about what's the shipment, what's the details, what's everything behind it. In addition to that, we use more and more machine learning, which allows us to synthesize out the rationale and the context based on that data. So by having more data, it allowed us to more and more build up a product architecture that says, we're not looking at it from a payment rail perspective, we're not looking at it from a transaction perspective, but we flipped the model around and said, let's look at it from an interaction perspective. And whether it's an API, a human, Internet of Things, a machine, if you will, if we look at it from an interaction perspective, and we then have the ability to understand not just the what and the why, and synthesize out using machine learning AI, the context, then we can drive the execution in a much more optimal way for the organization and for the bank.
Do you already have the clients who work within this framework?
Yes, we had very early on strong interest. We have early adopter accounts, a leading bank in Australia, a leading bank in ASEAN, leading bank in Europe, and one of the leading banks in North America are all in the final phases of deployment.
Right.
And so for us, it's a very strong underwriting, and we strategically wanted to make sure that we had one of the launch customers in each of the critical geos.
Amazing. What is your role within this within this new idea, new product?
So my role is, besides making sure that we deliver on the growth and make sure that we respond to the customer interest, it was also part of laying out and transition between what the market needs are from a product strategy. How do we lay out the vision and execute against the vision of contextual banking and basically make corporate banking business driven.
What is the kind of long-term vision for this?
The long-term vision is that this is a stepping stone, right? Using data.
As I see, it's very early days at the moment. So.
No, it is. It's because the harmonization around data is getting more and more embraced in the market. ISO 20022 is now a modern term and everybody's trying to talk about it. But it's been going on for some time, right? And the more we harmonize and the more common data is available, it'll first allow us to make sure that we understand the business context, right, of the interaction, and then make sure we can optimize the execution of it. Secondarily is the longer term is that we want to make sure we can change the traditional processes in real time. Right now, a lot of the
traditional processes.
So traditional banking processes, if you think about a corporation, any corporate around the world is built on 3 pillars: manufacturing supply chain, financial supply chain, and logistical supply chain. both manufacturing and logistical supply chains have been real time for some time. Banking, or if you will, the financial supply chain, has typically been T+3 or T+1, which means settlement or activity the day after. From a corporate perspective, their number one desire, their number one goal is to have a real-time visibility of their liquidity position. Right. For us to enable banks with the technology to do that, we have to embrace the trend to real-time payment. We have to embrace ISO 20022 and more data access, the embrace of cloud and AI and machine learning, and to combine all of that to say, how can we change those processes, the payment and receivable process, the corporate liquidity process, the cash management process, how can we change those processes to change from T+1, meaning next day update, into near real time, so that a corporate treasurer has a real-time visibility of his or her liquidity position anywhere in the world. Ultimately, that's what the corporate is looking for. And if we don't enable together with the banks to deliver that to the corporates, then somebody else will do that for them, and the opportunity will be gone.
Are you the first movers in this?
I believe that, as INTELLECT iGTB with a 35+ year heritage in transaction banking, and that's the only thing we do, I think we had a unique opportunity 4 years ago to really start with the strategy from a clean sheet of paper. Mm-hmm. So we really were in a lucky position to leave heritage behind and say, how do we actually define out where we believe the market will be 5 to 6 years from now? And so from a contextual banking strategy and looking at how that will work in a market, I think we're definitely early movers. I think we have a long headway in the market. I think having multiple customers go live this year around the critical geos will give us a unique position to deliver not only on our heritage, but also drive the innovation that's required to change the market.
Amazing. It's very exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, we think so.
What are your plans for Sibos?
Sibos has been always a very critical place for us. Right? We're in the midst of the world of transaction banking, which is what Sibos is all around, correspondent banking and enabling corporate banking around the world. So a couple of years ago, we introduced our vision here at Sibos. Then we announced how interaction will change the world. So for example, we brought an Alexa, and we used voice as an interaction. Right? It's no longer human or channel, any channel, voice, API, machine-driven human. So then we announced last year the first customers, early adopters, and now this year we're actually changed it from a strategy into production, right? So this Sibos has been very productive for us. We've had very good meetings. We've seen very strong underwriting of our philosophy now by multiple vendors. We see more and more embracement of the community and by SWIFT, right, of commonality, harmonization of data. All of that is critical for the industry, and it's important for us because we leverage on that data. The more the industry and across banks we harmonize on standards, the better it is for us to leverage the data, and the more it's better is that we can deliver value for the corporates.
So you're at the forefront of the kind of the corporate innovation, really.
We have no choice, and then what I mean with that is our job is to enable banks to deliver on what the corporates need, and the world of corporates are changing, right? The corporate needs have the speed of need, right? People's society is changing, immediate gratification. Physical and geographic borders don't exist anymore, so they need to make sure that they have that real-time visibility. They need to understand how they can use the working capital optimally, what the liquidity positions around the world. The world of real-time payments, make sure that cash flow is moving very quickly around the world. Mm-hmm. Combine all of that together. It is our job to make sure that we can actually deliver on what that wants. And if you combine it in one sentence, the bank has to become an integral part of the corporate supply chain. And all of our strategy and all of our investment in product development is geared to enable a bank to become that.
Amazing. Thank you.
You're very welcome.